My wife looked me dead in the eye across our Christmas dinner table and called me difficult. In front of everyone, my kids, her parents, our closest friends, I stayed silent. I swallowed it. But at 12:01 a.m. that night, my phone rang and my son's voice was shaking. What he told me would destroy everything I thought I knew about my marriage. My name is Michael. I've been married to Karen for 23 years. We have 2 kids, Jake, who's 21 and away at college, and Emma, who's 18 and still living at home. On the surface, we looked like the perfect family. Holiday cards, Sunday dinners, the works. But this Christmas, something was different. Karen had been distant for months. Cold, every conversation felt like walking through a minefield, and I couldn't figure out why. What I'm about to tell you happened over 72 hours. It started with one word at Christmas dinner, escalated with a midnight phone call, and ended with a confrontation that ripped our family apart and put it back together in ways I never expected. December 25th. Christmas morning started normal enough. Presents, coffee, fake smiles. Emma had gotten a new laptop for college applications. Jake FaceTimed us from his dorm before heading to his girlfriend's family dinner. Karen seemed cheerful, almost too cheerful, like someone performing happiness rather than feeling it. I brushed it off. Maybe I was overthinking. Maybe the distance between us was just the natural ebb and flow of a long marriage. I'd read articles about empty nest syndrome, about couples who lose their connection when the kids grow up. Maybe that's all this was. A rough patch we'd worked through. By afternoon, the house started filling up. Karen's parents arrived first, bringing their famous pecan pie and that slightly judgmental energy they always carried when it came to me. I'd never been quite good enough for their daughter. Not successful enough. Not ambitious enough. Not impressive enough. Not impressive enough. I was a middle manager at a manufacturing plant. Stable, reliable, boring. Karen's father had wanted her to marry a doctor or a lawyer. Instead, she got me. 23 years later, and I could still see the disappointment in his eyes when he looked at me. Then our neighbors, the Hendersons, stopped by with a bottle of wine. Bill Henderson and I used to golf together on weekends. Our kids had grown up playing in each other's backyards. The house was full of laughter and conversation, but I'd never felt more alone. Every time I spoke, Karen would either interrupt me or give me this look. You know the look. The one that says, "You're embarrassing yourself. You're saying too much. You're being annoying." I started censoring myself, speaking less, retreating into the background of my own home. I'd catch her rolling her eyes when I laughed at something Bill said. I'd see her tense up when I walked into the kitchen where she was talking to her mother. It was like my presence was an intrusion in my own house. By dinner time, the tension was suffocating. We all sat around the table, passing dishes, making small talk about politics and weather and Emma's college plans. I was telling a story about Jake's college soccer game, nothing controversial, just proud dad stuff about how he'd scored the winning goal in overtime. The whole team had piled on him in celebration. It was one of those perfect sports moments. I was mid-sentence describing how Jake had faked left and shot right when Karen cut me off. "Michael, you're being difficult again." The room went silent. You could hear the fireplace crackling in the living room. I looked at her, waiting for the punchline, the smile that said she was joking. Nothing. Her face was cold, almost disgusted, like looking at me physically repulsed her. I'm sharing a story about our son," I said quietly, trying to keep my voice steady, aware that everyone was watching us. "You're always making everything about you," she snapped. "It's exhausting, Michael. Everything has to revolve around you and your feelings and your opinions. Can't we just have one peaceful holiday without you dominating every conversation? Do you not hear yourself? We were talking about Emma's college choices and you just steamroll right over it with your soccer story that no one asked for." I felt like I'd been slapped. We hadn't been talking about Emma's college. That conversation had ended 10 minutes ago. But contradicting her would only prove her point, wouldn't it? Make me more difficult, more controlling. Her parents nodded. Not aggressively, but they nodded. Like they'd discussed this before. Like I was the problem they'd all agreed on in some family meeting I wasn't invited to. The Hendersons looked down at their plates, suddenly very interested in their mashed potatoes. Emma's eyes filled with tears. She pushed back from the table, her chair scraping loudly against the hardwood floor. "May I be excused?" she whispered. No one answered her. She ran upstairs and I heard her bedroom door slam. I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself. What was the point? Anything I said would just be more evidence of me being difficult, of me making everything about myself. So I just went quiet, finished dinner in silence, every bite tasting like ash, helped clean up while everyone else moved to the living room to watch some Christmas movie. I could hear them laughing without me, their voices light and free, now that the difficult person had been removed from the equation. Karen's mother made a comment about how nice it was to finally relax, and I knew she meant now that I wasn't there. I scrubbed dishes until my hands were raw, welcoming the physical discomfort because it was something I could understand, something that made sense. Around 10 p.m., everyone left. Bill Henderson clapped me on the shoulder on his way out and said, "Take care of yourself, buddy," with a look in his eyes that suggested he knew something I didn't. Karen's parents hugged her extra long, whispering things I couldn't hear. Karen went straight to bed without saying goodnight, without acknowledging I existed. I stayed downstairs, sitting in the dark living room, staring at the Christmas tree lights, replaying every word. Was I difficult? Was I the villain in my own marriage and didn't even know it? Had I been so blind to my own behavior that everyone around me could see it except me? The self-doubt was crushing. I started mentally reviewing every conversation I'd had that day, every story I'd told, looking for evidence of my awfulness. Maybe she was right. Maybe I did talk too much. Maybe I was exhausting. Maybe the problem with our marriage wasn't that we'd grown apart, but that I'd been toxic all along and was too narcissistic to see it. I thought about all the marriage advice articles I'd read that talked about emotional abuse. Was I a gaslighter? Was I controlling without realizing it? The spiral was vicious. That's when I heard Karen on the phone upstairs. Her voice was hushed, but sound traveled through the vents in our old house. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but I caught fragments. "He has no idea," she said, followed by laughter. Not stress laughter. Genuine, happy laughter. "Tomorrow, we'll see. I can't keep doing this much longer." Then silence. Then her voice again. Softer. Intimate. "I miss you too." The way she said it made my blood run cold. That tone. I recognized that tone because she used to use it with me 20 years ago, when we were young and in love and couldn't stand to be apart. My stomach dropped. Who was she talking to at 10:30 on Christmas night? What was happening tomorrow? What couldn't she keep doing? But before I could process it, exhaustion took over. The emotional weight of the day crushed me. I fell asleep on the couch, still dressed, the Christmas tree lights blurring into darkness. At exactly 12:01 a.m., my phone exploded with sound, not a text, a call from Jake. I fumbled in the dark, heart pounding, knocking a glass off the coffee table in my confusion. The crash seemed impossibly loud. Jake never calls me this late unless something's wrong. Car accident, emergency, hospital, something terrible. "Dad?" His voice was cracking. He'd been crying. I could hear it in every syllable. "Jake? What's wrong? Are you okay? Are you hurt?" I was on my feet now, turning on lights, preparing to get in the car and drive however far I needed to. "Dad, I saw Mom's Facebook post. Dad, what the hell is going on?" Facebook post. "Dad, what the hell is going on?" Facebook post? I don't even use Facebook. I haven't logged into my account in probably 3 years. Karen handles all our social media. Posts pictures of family dinners, vacation photos, maintaining our image as the perfect suburban couple. I sat up, my mind racing, trying to connect the dots. "What are you talking about?" She posted about you. Tonight. After dinner. "Dad, she's saying you've been emotionally abusive. That you control her. That she's been scared to leave you for years. It's public. All her friends are commenting. People are calling you a monster. People I've known my whole life are saying you're dangerous." Mrs. Anderson told me to reach out if I ever needed to talk about what it was like growing up in an abusive home. "Dad, is any of this true?" Time stopped. The room tilted. I couldn't breathe. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the phone. Emotionally abusive? Control her? Scared to leave me? None of this made any sense. We barely spoke anymore. How could I control someone I hardly interacted with? "Send me the screenshot," I whispered, my voice barely working. 30 seconds later, my phone buzzed, and there it was. Karen's Facebook post, published at 11:47 p.m., just 14 minutes ago, while I was asleep on the couch exhausted from being called difficult. The post read, "This Christmas was one of the hardest days of my life. My husband's behavior has become unbearable, controlling, dismissive, making me feel small in front of my family. I'm exhausted from walking on eggshells, never knowing what will set him off. I don't know how much longer I can keep pretending everything's okay. Please keep me in your thoughts as I navigate what comes next. I need to protect myself and my children." Below it, 47 comments, and the number was climbing as I watched. People I knew, our friends, neighbors, her co-workers, people from our church, all of them rallying around her. Oh my God, Karen, I had no idea. You deserve so much better. Stay strong. Thinking of you. He always seemed so controlling at neighborhood parties. Get out while you can. Don't wait. So sorry you've been going through this alone. You're so brave for speaking up. Do you need somewhere safe to stay? My door is always open. I read it 3 times, each word cutting deeper. And suddenly, everything clicked into perfect, horrifying focus. The word difficult at dinner wasn't random. It was calculated. Strategic. She was building a narrative, setting the stage, establishing her story in front of witnesses. Her parents nodding wasn't support. It was confirmation of a script they'd already been fed. They knew this was coming. They were part of it. The phone call I'd overheard, he has no idea. Tomorrow we'll see. It was about this public character assassination. This execution of my reputation while I slept 15 feet below her. Dad, is any of this true? Jake's voice pulled me back to reality. Have you been hurting Mom? Because if you have, I need to know. I need to know if Emma's safe there with you. The fact that my own son had to ask that question broke something in me. No. God, no, Jake. I don't even understand what's happening. Your mother and I have problems, but I would never. I tried to explain, but the words wouldn't come out right. How do you defend yourself against invisible accusations? Against feelings and interpretations and vague claims that can't be proven or disproven? How do you prove a negative? How do you prove you're not something? Then why would she say that? Mom doesn't lie. Jake's voice was breaking again, torn between his parents, his whole sense of family reality crumbling. I heard you guys argue sometimes, but I never saw anything like what she's describing. But why would she make this up? That's when Emma appeared in my doorway. She'd come downstairs, drawn by my voice. Her eyes were red from crying, mascara streaked down her face. She was holding her phone. Dad, why is Mom telling people you hurt her? My phone keeps blowing up. My friends are texting me asking if I'm safe, asking if you've ever hit her, asking if I need somewhere to stay. Chelsea's mom just called me saying I could stay with them if I felt unsafe at home. What is happening? She started sobbing. I went to her, tried to hug her, but she stepped back instinctively and I saw it. The flash of fear. My own daughter was afraid of me because of what her mother had written. I need to talk to your mother, I said, my voice hollow. Stay here. Talk to your brother. Emma started to protest, but I was already moving toward the stairs. My entire body felt numb, like I was operating on autopilot. My mind was racing through 23 years of marriage, looking for the moment this became inevitable. The fork in the road where our love story became this nightmare. I couldn't find it. Or maybe it had been building so slowly I'd mistaken decay for normalcy. Maybe I'd been the frog in slowly boiling water, not noticing until it was too late. I went into our bedroom. Karen was in bed, scrolling through her phone, smiling at the comments. The glow from the screen lit up her face in the darkness. She looked almost happy. Content? Satisfied. Like an artist admiring her finished work. Karen. She looked up, startled. The smile disappeared instantly. Guilt flashed across her face before she could mask it, and I knew this was deliberate, planned. Michael, what are you doing? Her voice was defensive, already preparing for battle. Jay called me. He saw your post. Her face went pale. Actually pale. The color drained from her cheeks. She sat up quickly, pulling the blanket around herself like armor, like I was the threat in the room. Michael, I can explain. I was upset. I was emotional after dinner, and I just needed to vent. Why? My voice cracked despite my efforts to keep it steady. Why would you tell people I'm abusive? Why would you lie like that to the entire world? She stood up now, immediately defensive, her voice rising to match mine. I didn't lie. You are difficult, Michael. You are controlling. You don't even see how you make me feel. You never listen to me. You always have to be right about everything. I can't breathe in this marriage. Give me one example. One specific thing I've done that justifies calling me abusive to the entire internet. Silence. She opened her mouth, closed it, looked away, looked back. Her eyes were searching, scrambling for something concrete, something real she could point to. You always have to have things your way. She stammered, grasping at straws. Like what? When? Tell me one thing I've done that justifies this. I gestured toward her phone, toward the 60 comments now, toward the community that thought I was a monster. She couldn't. She tried to deflect. You're doing it right now. You're invalidating my feelings. You're making me defend myself. This is exactly what I'm talking about, Michael. You're interrogating me. You're backing me into a corner. This is emotional abuse. That's when Emma, who had followed me upstairs despite my instructions, said something that changed everything. She was standing in the doorway, tears streaming down her face, phone clutched in her hand. Mom, is this because of David? The name hung in the air like smoke. David, Karen's co-worker, the guy she'd been texting constantly for the past 4 months, the just a friend she'd been meeting for coffee twice a week, then 3 times, then 4. The person she'd started dressing up for, putting on makeup before work when she used to go fresh-faced, the reason she'd suddenly started going to happy hour events she'd always skipped before, the name that appeared on her phone at all hours. I'd noticed but told myself I was being paranoid, insecure, possessive. I didn't want to be that husband who accused and controlled and suspected. I trusted her. I believed her when she said it was just friendship, just a work connection, nothing to worry about. Karen's face told me everything. The guilt, the panic, the realization that her daughter had just exposed the truth she'd been hiding. This isn't about David, she started, but her voice had no conviction, no strength. It sounded hollow even to her. You're building a case against me so you can justify leaving, I said slowly, the pieces finally falling into perfect, terrible place. You're rewriting our entire marriage, so you're the victim and I'm the villain. So when you leave me for him, everyone takes your side. You needed me to be the bad guy so you could be the hero of your own story, so you could ride off into the sunset with David and everyone would cheer for you instead of judging you for blowing up our family. That's not what I'm doing, she protested weakly, but we both knew it was exactly what she was doing. Her eyes darted between me and Emma, calculating, trying to figure out how much Emma knew, how much damage control she'd need to do. Then leave, I said, and I surprised myself with how calm I sounded. The initial shock had worn off, and now I just felt cold, empty. If you want David, if you want out of this marriage, then leave. Get a divorce. Be with whoever you want. But don't destroy me to make yourself feel better about it. Don't lie to our kids. Don't poison our entire community against me because you're too much of a coward to own your choices. She started crying then. Real tears or performed ones I couldn't tell anymore. You don't understand, she sobbed. You emotionally abandoned me years ago, Michael. You stopped seeing me. You stopped trying. I've been lonely in this marriage for so long. I deserve to be happy. I deserve to feel alive again. David makes me feel alive. When did I abandon you? Tell me when. What year? What month? What did I do or not do? She couldn't answer, just kept crying, saying I didn't understand, that I'd never understand. She spun a vague narrative, where she was the long-suffering wife, who'd finally reached her breaking point after years of neglect and emotional distance. But she never gave specifics, never cited actual events or conversations or moments, just feelings and vibes and her truth, which apparently didn't need to be tethered to observable reality. Emma was still standing in the doorway, watching her mother with an expression I'd never seen before. Disappointment. Disgust. Mom, she said quietly, I've seen your texts with David. I've seen them for months. You've been planning to leave Dad since September. You told David you were just waiting for the right moment. You told him you needed to make sure everyone would be on your side when it happened. I saw those messages, Mom. I know what you've been doing. The room froze. Karen's face cycled through emotions, denial, anger, fear, before settling on defensive rage. You went through my phone? How dare you invade my privacy like that? It wasn't hard, Emma shot back. You left it open on the kitchen counter. I saw David's name and I read them because I had a feeling something was wrong. I've been watching you destroy Dad for months, making him think he's the problem, when really you just wanted permission to cheat. I'm not cheating, Karen insisted. Nothing physical has happened. Yet, Emma said coldly. Nothing physical has happened yet, but you've been emotionally cheating for months. You've been in love with someone else while making Dad think he's losing his mind. Over the next 3 days, everything unraveled like a sweater with one pulled thread. Emma, who'd been watching this dysfunction longer than any of us realized, showed me screenshots of Karen's entire text thread with David. Months of emotional affair laid bare on a glowing screen. I love yous and can't wait to be with yous, and soon he'll be out of the pictures and he's so clueless he doesn't even notice we're in lows. Plans for their future together. Discussions about how to handle the divorce, how to frame it, how to make sure Karen came out looking like the victim instead of the villain. It was all there, premeditated, calculated. Jake came home from college 2 days later, walking into a war zone. He confronted his mother directly in the living room, while I sat in the kitchen trying to stay out of it. I could hear everything. Why did you lie about Dad online? Why did you try to make him look like an abuser? Do you understand what you've done to him, to us? People think our family is broken because of him, when really it's because of you and your affair. It's not an affair if nothing physical happened. Karen kept repeating like a mantra. Yes, it is, Jake shouted, and I'd never heard him yell at his mother before. You fell in love with someone else? You made plans to leave. You destroyed Dad's reputation to cover your tracks. That's an affair, Mom. That's betrayal. Karen's own sister, Linda, called her out publicly on Facebook on day 3, posted a long comment on Karen's original post that said, "As your sister, I've stayed silent while I watched you manufacture this victim narrative for months, but I can't anymore. Michael is not abusive. Michael has been a good husband and father for 23 years. You're having an affair with your coworker, and you're trying to rewrite history to justify it. I love you, but I won't be part of this lie. Michael deserves better than this. Your kids deserve better than this. Delete this post and own your choices." That comment got 89 likes. People started questioning Karen's story. The tide shifted. Suddenly, the comments changed from unconditional support to wait, what's really going on here? Karen deleted the post that afternoon, issued a new post, shorter, vaguer. I apologize for my previous post. I was emotional and said things I didn't mean. I'm going through a difficult time and I'm asking for privacy as my family works through personal issues. Thank you for understanding. But the damage was done. 57 people had seen the original post before it was deleted. Screenshots existed, circulating in group chats and private messages. The seed of doubt about my character had been planted in our community. Even if people believed the retraction, some part of them would always wonder, would always look at me a little differently, would always have that tiny voice asking, what if some of it was true? Our marriage was over, not because of the lies themselves, but because of what they revealed about who Karen had become, or maybe who she'd always been and I'd been too in love to see clearly. She'd been willing to destroy my reputation, my relationship with my kids, my standing in our community, my mental health, my sense of self, just to make her affair feel justified. She needed me to be the villain so badly that she'd tried to make me one through sheer force of narrative and public opinion. And when I really thought about it, that scared me more than anything. What else might she have done if this hadn't been exposed? How far would she have gone? It's been 6 months now. We're divorced. The process was surprisingly quick once we both stopped pretending. No custody battle because Jake and Emma are adults and they chose me. The house is quieter now. Different. Sometimes lonely, but also peaceful in a way it hadn't been for years. Karen's with David now officially, though from what I hear through mutual friends, it's not going well. Turns out relationships built on betrayal and fantasy don't survive the reality of daily life and actually paying bills together. The excitement of forbidden love fades fast when you're arguing about whose turn it is to clean the bathroom. Jake and Emma both live with me now. Jake transferred to a college closer to home, said he wanted to be around, wanted to make sure I was okay. Emma's applying to schools nearby instead of across the country like she'd originally planned. They saw the truth. They watched their mother choose comfort over integrity, fantasy over family, ego over honesty. And honestly, I'm okay now. Better than okay. I started therapy with a counselor who specializes in emotional abuse and manipulation. Started journaling every morning, writing down my actual experiences and feelings so I have a record, so I can trust my own reality. Started reconnecting with friends I'd let drift away during the marriage. Started remembering who I was before I became difficult. Because that midnight phone call from Jake, as devastating as it was in the moment, saved me. If he hadn't called, if I hadn't seen that post, I might have believed her narrative eventually. I might have internalized that I was difficult, controlling, abusive. I might have spent years in therapy trying to fix problems that didn't exist, while the real problem, her affair and her willingness to destroy me, went unaddressed. I might have apologized for things I didn't do, changed behaviors that were actually harmful, twisted myself into someone unrecognizable trying to be good enough for someone who'd already decided I wasn't. Sometimes, the worst betrayals are the ones that force you to see clearly. Karen didn't just try to rewrite our marriage. She tried to rewrite me as a person. She tried to make me doubt my own goodness, my own reality, my own worth as a human being. She tried to convince me and everyone else that I was a monster, and I refused to let her. I fought for my truth even when it was terrifying and lonely and everyone was watching. So if you've ever been gaslit, if you've ever been manipulated, if you've ever had someone you love weaponize your relationship against you and turn you into a villain in a story they wrote without your permission, I want you to know something important. You're not alone in this. You're not crazy for questioning what's real, and you're not the villain in someone else's story just because they need you to be. Hold on to your truth even when everyone doubts it. Trust your reality even when people try to convince you it's wrong. And don't let anyone else write your narrative for you, because your story matters, your truth matters, and you deserve to be seen accurately.